Creatives, Serena here. Thanks for joining me today on my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to swatch out my Mungyo 48 color set, watercolor set. And if you'd like to join me, let's take a look and see what the colors look like on the page. Today I'll be using a Fabriano Artistico 100% cotton cold pressed watercolor paper. It's 300 GSM, 140 pounds. Now, a lot of people will use just, whatever watercolor paper they have around, that cheapy paper, because you figure, it's just swatching. It doesn't really matter. But really, if you can use the kind of paper that you're going to do most of your paintings on, the swatches will give you more information. You'll see the granulation of the colors. You'll see all the little nuances when you do a gradation from dark to light. You'll see how it's going to perform on the paper you're actually going to use it on. When you use cheap paper for your swatching sheets, you get an idea of the color, but it's not really going to give you what you need when you're painting. Okay, so I've already pre-drawn some cells on here, and I'm going to use a little bit different technique than I normally do. I usually just go from dark to light on the brush. I'm going to pre-wet the cell and then drop in some paint on there and let it flow naturally, because these cells are kind of small. I'm not going to get a lot of space to do a gradated wash. I am using my Mungyo 48 color watercolor set, and what I did was take out some of the colors. I pre-swatched them just quickly on a little page to see what the colors were, and they didn't seem in the right order for me, so I reordered them. I switched them around, so these aren't in the order in which you receive them. So if you think they are, if you're trying to compare them, it's a little different. So let's get going and see how they look on paper. I'll zoom in a little bit and we'll start. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take my set here and if I can get it over here, a dropper. And I'm going to pre-wet these just a little bit. I'm just going to put the slightest little drop on there just to get them going, so we don't have to sit here and wait for that to happen. And I'll use my Jackson's Icon. I've got Icon Series 700 watercolor brushes in a 2 and a 4. What I'll do is use one of them to moisten the pan and get the color, and the other to draw the water across the cell. Alright, let's start with this. I should actually have something underneath to kind of tip this a little bit, but that's okay. And I'm just going to fill in the whole cell with water, and then with my other brush dampen the brush with the color. Of course, this first one is white. We're not going to get very much off this. Alright, let's go on to the other one, or the next one. Get that one wet. Now we'll start to see something interesting. Sorry about that. I know the white is just It's actually pooling on the bottom. I think I'm going to get rid of that extra water there. Let me pull that up a little bit so it's not going to drip down the page into the next cell. And we will get the next one. Now, that first color was white. This next color is lemon yellow. And I'm using the color designations that Mungyo uses to show what it is. Okay, so let's see how that flows down the page. If it does. Doesn't look like it is very well. I might have to pull that down a little bit just to get an idea, because I do want it to fill in the whole cell. There we go. Just a little bit more of a gradation there. Let's go on to the next one. I wish I could just pre-wet all these cells here and then put the camera on, just drop the colors, but it's too, they'll dry too quickly. By the time I get to the third or fourth one, it'll probably be dry. Well, let's get this on here. I think if I put enough water on this, it'll pull it down. It's actually not doing really what I wanted it to do. I'll have to pull it down like that. And that gives me the more accurate color of what it is. This one is yellow. That's just plain yellow. Let's do the next one. That looks quite orange, but as it comes in on the paper, it's more of a yellow-orange. And this one is yellow-orange. That's what they call it. I'm going to dry that off just a little bit and pull that down. Yeah, this is not really working the way I thought. I might just be able to do it the way I usually do. Well, you learn. That's how you learn. And those are quite vibrant colors. Now, this is the same company, they say, that does the Jane Davenport and the Prima Art Philosophy paints. So I'm not surprised that these are quite pigmented. They're going to be very nice to use. It's not quite doing what I wanted. I'll just draw it down. I'm trying to let gravity do its work here. Oops, it's a piece of something in there. This one is, I couldn't read it. It starts with a J and it says Brilliant. If I get the name of it, I'll just put it in text on the video here so you know which color it is. But it's kind of a strange color. Almost kind of like a flesh tone. That's beautiful. Look at that. How vibrant these are. And I found that to be true with the Prima colors. I don't have any Jane Davenport, but I do have the Prima colors, and they're quite nice. Alright, I see I went off frame a little bit there, but I'll try to do better. Now this one is going to be straight orange. Oh no, that one was orange, I'm sorry. This one is going to be vermilion. Now that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes you really have to count to see where you are on these things. It helps that I have the drop of water on the palette there, because I can see where I've activated it and where it's just a drop of water. So I'm just going down, just pulling that down a little bit. Maybe I like these brushes from Jackson's. I use them quite often. And I've finally gotten some small ones, which I really needed. That was vermilion. This one's Scarlet. My biggest worry is that I'm going to skip one of these colors or duplicate it, and I've done that before. I've duplicated the color, or I've skipped the color, and I got to the end and I had an extra cell, and I'm like, what? Red one less. Try to just pull that down without getting it very... Try to do an even wash as much as I can. Doesn't always work. Oh, I made a little mess up there. That made it worse. I should have used a tissue. It's alright. Alright, on to the next color. These are really, really brilliant. And it's really a cloudy day, so I hope these are coming out okay. It's getting a little sunnier, but it's mostly cloudy. Permanent Red. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Permanent Red. On a lot of these sets, you'll see the reds are not quite red. You know, they tend toward the blue or toward the orange. And it is disappointing if, especially like me, you're used to cadmiums, which are, I still use cadmiums, but you have to be very careful with them. They're very bad for the environment. I'm using up what I have in cadmium. I'm thinking I'm not going to continue with using them. There are some alternatives that are coming out that are quite good. I don't know about the light fastness, but if you're talking about the alternative, something that's very poisonous and bad for the environment, you know, it's a no-brainer. You kind of have to give it up. This one is Permanent Rose. Isn't that a beautiful color? I could see so many applications for this with florals. If you do florals, it would just be so nice. Get some of that down there. Just draw it down. Of course, I'm running out of color at that point, but you can see what I mean about using the paper that you're going to use with your painting, because it really gives you an idea of how it's going to react on the paper that you're using, on your final work. And that's really what you want. You might be hearing my cat snoring in the background. Sorry about that. I've got a orange Maine Coon. It's a little smaller than a regular Maine Coon, but he's quite large. And he's getting a little older, so he kind of is snoring in his sleep. Poor thing. Alright, this one's coming out a little wonky. And I should give you the color name too as we go through. These are really nice colors. I love them. Look at that. This one is Rose Madder. Now the next one I've got coming up is Crimson Lake. And you can see I made a little boo-boo there on the... Also got some green on there. I don't know how that happened, but made a little boo-boo on the end of the cell there with my fine liner, which is only as fine as your hand is steady. Okay, so this one is Crimson Lake. Oh, pretty. I almost should have put that first, but I see how this transitions into probably the purples. What is that thing there? Every once in a while you get a weird hair or something. You know, when you have pets, you can't help it. Pull that down a little bit. That's not very bright. You know, my tendency is to mess with it a little bit more because I want it very vibrant up there, and I know it's more vibrant than... There we go. It can be quite dark. And that's one of the things you want too in your swatches. You want to know how dark you're going to go, because sometimes you want a dark color, sometimes you want it a little darker, and you're not going to use something like a Rose Madder if you really want it to get dark. But this is enough information for me to get that color. Okay, now let's start the other row. I will clear out my water and move the swatch. Alright, with the second row here, we're starting with Coral Pink. Oh, look at that. Oop. Gotta be very careful with it because it will go anywhere where you've got wet areas. I do want to pull it down a little bit, but I want to get some clear there, some white. Looks like it dried out down there. Okay, there we go. Those edges are bothering me. I'm so OCD. Anyway, that's Coral Pink. Next one, this is a beautiful color. This is going to be Opera, which of course is the Opera Rose. Look at that brilliant, it's almost like fluorescent. Of course, it can't be very light fast. Could see maybe using that also in florals, maybe a little muted down, but again, that kind of defeats the purpose if you mute it, because you want that kind of bright color. I was dying to buy that Opera Rose from Jackson's for my Schminke set, and they finally got it in stock. It was out of stock a couple of orders that I made, and they finally got it in stock. And now that I have it, I don't quite know what I'm going to use it for, but I love the color. All right, now this one is straight purple. They just call it purple. I would almost rather they do that than like on some of the Prima paints. They've got very imaginative names, like Seafoam and Whale, and country names, Tokyo and such, which don't really tell you what the color is. So I mean, it gives an air of mysticism to it, but it's not very descriptive if you're an artist. I'd rather almost have something that says purple. Okay, this one is Permanent Violet. This looks quite dark. Bet it's going to be, wow. Look at how that just expands across the page. I'll bet this is a very dying color. You won't be able to lift this color at all. You can just kind of tell from the saturation that it's not going to lend itself to that kind of technique. So once you put it down on the paper, don't expect to lift it up. I'm going to even have a hard time labeling this. I have in mind to run the label across, and the name of the color across the page, so that I can refer to it later on, of course. And I think with that one, I'm not going to have very much room to do so. Cobalt Blue. You all know what Cobalt Blue is. Very bright color. Again, not quite sure what you'd use it for. You really have to mute it down or muddy it down. Unless you're doing something like an abstract and you want that pure color. I do that with my oils. Sometimes I'll use them almost straight out of the tube and then blend them with other colors that are already on the canvas. But they are very bright. I'm trying to get a gradual movement down there. Oh, I went way over the edge of that. Alright, that was Cobalt. Here comes Indigo. Oh, I love this color. Indigo. Oh my good, look at how that just exploded across the page. Look at that. I'm going to rinse off my brush a little bit to draw that down. So I don't want that completely covering the page. I want to see what the nuances are, see what different shades I can get out of it, or tints. Of course, this shade is darker, a tint is lighter. Not very even there, but it still gives me the idea. Alright, we did Indigo. Here's the Prussian Blue. That's almost as dark. That's really saturated. Well, all these colors are really saturated. I can't say that I've come across any that are not in this set. That's not flowing very well, so I don't have a very lot of water in this. I'm going to add a little to it so I get some of the lightness. I want to see what the color is about. The darkness doesn't really show me very much. If I keep pulling down more and more water, eventually it'll get lighter. Get some of that out of there too. Add pure water. There we go. Nice color. Some of that out of there and pull that down with pure water. Very nice color. Now that's what I wish all the swatches would come out like. Ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue. Well, that's pretty. It looks to have some white in it, or something. It's not. It's a little opaque. I don't see that as a pure transparent color. as it's coming out on the page. And this is one of the other things you're looking for when you're using paints. You want to know what is transparent and what isn't when you're using your watercolors, because sometimes you are layering colors and they won't come out well. Here's another one of my favorites, Cerulean Blue. I love that color. Look at that. Just so beautiful. Look at that color. My cat is yawning. He's not one to jump up on tables though, so you probably won't get a look of him or look at him. But if you look up Orange Maine Coon, you'll know what type of cat he is. Very sweet cat, very large, but very sweet. Alright, let's see what we did next. We did a... Boy, I went way off the page with that. You see how I messed up with the ink, with the line? So I can fix that if I really want to. If it starts bugging my, my sense of perfection, I probably will do it anyway. Alright, the next one is a permanent light blue, which I think most companies would more call it a turquoise. It's just a... Look at that. Oh, God, what a beautiful color. Again, this one has got some, I wouldn't really say chalkiness to it, but it's not transparent. It's missing that transparency that you see in some of the other colors. But still a beautiful color to work with. Very, very nice. Look at that. A nice addition to the set. I have to say they've got some nice colors in here. Nice range. This next one is Cadmium Green Light. That's like really a, boy, you could call that a crayon green. I mean, like a Crayola green. A nice basis for some other colors if you want. It's a very pretty color. Again, very vibrant. Yeah, let's see what else we have. Just one more in this size here, or this row. Let's see what that is. Of course, it's going to be another green. We're running into the greens now. I'd like to say that this set has a lot of nice colors for landscapers. If you do landscapes, this is a really nice set. Look at that. Wow. I wonder if there's something in our brains as artists that just like fire off when we see these beautiful colors. I'd like some scientist to put some electrodes on my brain and see what happens when I swatch out a pan of colors. Well, so that's the first 24, and this video is already quite long, so I've decided to divide it up into two. I hope you like the first 24 colors of this set as much as I do. Check out part 2 for the next 24 colors up here. Until I see you next time, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time.